Welcome to another episode of
Hi,
Tzuzamen. Hi, Tzipi.
Sure. And we're in Tzuzamen, which is togetherness.
Yes.
And as everybody knows, we started this program because we feel we have to enrich ourselves. But today, it's not just enriching, it's really, really, really flying far, far away, right? So can you introduce
Jannicke Mikkelsen.
Wow, that's the name, Jannicke
Mikkelsen.
It looks like a poem. You know, Jannicke Mikkelsen went to the forest to pick up some, you know, it's really like a poem. Wow.
Well,
beautiful.
We don't have trees here.
What?
We don't have trees here.
Oh, no trees?
No, she's not in the forest. She's the North Pole. Jannicke is in the North Pole now. And Jannicke is
Wait, I need to breathe.
Okay.
It's cold?
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay.
Tzipi in the North Pole. She and Santa Claus and
but I feel like a North Pole here, so I don't know. It's very cold today.
Polar bears.
Yeah.
Jannicke, tell us who you are. Why did you go there? We know a few years a little bit because a few years ago at the 50th of the Apollo 11 landing on the moon, we collaborated in a project in Times Square. But now she went much further than the moon. So just tell us where you are and why.
So actually, do you know, it is kind of funny, Tzili, because I explain this place like it's like living on the moon, having a moon base, you know, but the moon base is functioning because you're so remote from everything else. Like last week, I didn't eat vegetables for 10 days because the boat with vegetables didn't arrive, you know, so we just didn't have vegetables. So it's not quite the North Pole, but it's Svalbard, which is at 78 degrees north. We're one of the most northernmost settlements, and we have 2,000 people who live here, and there are 3,000 polar bears who also live here.
Polar bears are the white ones?
Yeah, they're the most dangerous ones.
I know, we will talk about it because I feel disturbed. I just thought a film, as I said, a Snowpiercer, and it's all in a train, and it's very bleak film, you know, with in front of the train are the rich people, in the back are very poor people, and the riot, and it's very violent and very bleak because the world finished, everything is ice, and just a train, these are the only survivors, and then two girls are able to go out of the train, and they meet a white polar bear. And I thought it's a fantastic, optimistic, you know, ending. And then somebody told me, but they are very dangerous.
They're the most dangerous.
They're extremely dangerous.
So here I am teaching a film, and you know, with the engine of, you know, optimistic at the end. And then somebody said, Professor, by the way, they're very dangerous.
They're very deceiving. They're all white and sweet, and underneath they're black and very violent.
Oh my God.
They're very scary. Yeah.
So it's 2000, you know, this is me, by the way, jumping all over the place. So sometimes she's doing this to me, like, cool it. So you are 2,000 people, right? North Pole, you mean what? It's after Albany, not Albany.
It's a little bit beyond Albany.
After Alaska?
Who is further, you or Santa Claus?
Well, technically Santa Claus, they say he lives in Finland, so you need to fly another 4 hours north and then you're here.
Ah, Finland is no north.
I was there.
Finland is way further south, so yeah.
Yeah, so it's 2,000 people and 3,000 dangerous polar bear, and then you are with your blonde hair, beautiful face, doing what?
Nobody sees her face because she's all covered with amazing costumes.
Oh, what, to protect from the
cold and the snow.
Yeah, you gotta protect your skin from the cold for sure. You need to cover up everything except for your eyes when you go out.
Oh, so you can just wear a burqa, you know.
Yeah, just thicker, basically.
Thicker burqa. So what are you doing? What
am I doing?
You know, I used to ask, what the F word you're doing there?
So I'm a filmmaker, but I specialize in new technology, and for me, this place just made sense. It was a little bit of a fluke that I ended up here. I came here to test out one of Canon's new cameras, and do some photography of the wildlife, the Arctic wildlife. So the foxes, the polar bears, the seals. And within 24 hours, there was just something within me that says that I have to move here. So I moved.
Oh, you went
from
back
London
and
to
went
here.
back to your place in where? In Los Angeles or New York?
In London. In London, yeah.
You were
Yeah.
back to London and then you went back. That's wow. That was when?
That was in June. And I'd actually been here 12 years ago. And when I had to leave, I cried. I just felt like a piece of my heart was here. For some reason, my soul is here. Something about
She's
it.
half Norway, you know.
I know what you're talking about. It's no, I'm disturbed and it's not really nice. But I went to Fontainebleau with my husband, and suddenly I don't know what came over me, and I told him, "I love you very much, but here is your passport. Here is half of the money. Bye bye. I'm staying here." I know what you're talking about.
I felt like when I left, it was like a piece of me was left behind, and I have to come back and reclaim myself, I guess.
So what were you trying to reclaim? The piece, the piece
of me, the piece of me that just loves this environment, who loves the people who live here. Just the energy I get from this place. It's interesting because it's completely dark in the winter, and 24 hours.
How many hours light you have?
No light.
Right now, none.
No light.
Right now, there's a little bit of daylight. There's a little bit of blue sky, but no sunshine yet. The sun is still.
You go from a place to place. You go outside, or it's all like in what did I mean? Alaska, this place, very known. Anyway, they don't. They hardly. I don't remember the city in Alaska. When you hardly go outside, it's all under, like tunnels, underground.
No. Here we go outside. So we have all the houses, and then we have one street where shops are. And we actually have we have one cafe, and we have a few bars, and we have one grocery store. And I mean, it's functional. It's great. And we call them Svalbard sunglasses, and those are literally ski goggles, and you put them on to go to the shop.
But Jannicke, you go from one adventure to another. Since I know you, you're only about adventure. What's driving you? Why do you go to these places? How do you get to these projects?
I think it starts first with me, with sort of the ego me that wants to explore and feels like I can't catch a breath until I have explored it. I feel like I can't breathe until I finish the project. And the more I experience these amazing places on planet Earth where very few people have ever been before, I need to share these places, and specifically here where you can see the climate changing and you see the devastation. This is something I have to share. I need to bring people here or bring this place to everybody.
You see the devastation there? Climate change?
Pardon?
Do you see the climate change there?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I dare to say that when I was here 12 years ago, I drove to the same glacier. I did not recognize where I was, because in my brain, it looked completely different 12 years ago. And that glacier has probably recessed about 100 meters, so 100 yards since I was there 12 years ago.
Wow.
I did not recognize the place.
Wow. So you are commissioned to do stuff there, or you just take a camera and go?
I just take my camera and go, yeah.
Listen, this is really embarrassing because I'm a professor at Tisch. I teach films, and I don't know what is that you are doing. I don't know about this, how you call it? High technology cinematography? Say it again.
I think I got interested in it because I noticed that, especially when I started working as a stereographer in 3D movies, you know, when Avatar came out in 2009, I'd already done a lot of 3D prior to that. But what I was noticing was that you had this wow effect. You could impact people with an image. So, you know, some people get bored by documentaries, but if you actually presented it in a different way, you could immerse a viewer into the situation and they would get a wow factor. And they would feel like they were there. And it's more of using technology seems to give the viewer an ability to feel a movie rather than observe a movie.
So it's what like are the films that were 3D? Avatar and any other movies? Because it's not many movies you see like in 3D.
There were a few amazing movies in 3D that I loved and a few absolutely train wreck movies in 3D that I hated. So the one I loved was Martin Scorsese, Hugo.
Right.
Is still my favorite 3D movie. And then there was a short movie called Pina, which was a dance movie.
Did you say Pina Bausch?
Bausch.
Oh, I saw it. Yeah, I teach it in my documentary class. They have to sit in 2 weeks. Pina was in 3D?
It was filmed in 3D, yeah.
Wow. Okay, I don't.
And I think any movie that was written with the intent on being in 3D and captured with the intent of portraying 3 dimensions communicates in a complete different way. 2D and 3D are 2 different movie languages.
Yes.
And then I really, so if you haven't understood, I love expeditions and I wanted to work for David Attenborough back then. And I had applied for the job as a cinematographer for about 6 years and just never gotten a job, flown to London to get the job, was always like second, third, runner up, but never actually got the job. And then I went back to school, did my master's in cinematography. And the day after I graduated, the producer called me and he goes, so you still do 3D movies, don't you? And I said, yes. He goes, great. So we're going to send you to the Galapagos. Send me your passport now, and then we'll get you a visa.
Wow.
But the problem was of course, I said yes to the job because it's David Attenborough. But then when I got there, I realized the producer didn't know the difference between 3D and 360. So I started making 360 VR movies.
Which is what?
Explain us.
What's that?
So when you wear the headset, the VR headset, the virtual reality headset,
right.
Yeah, that's what it was. And we were making 360 movies underwater, filming sharks and marine aquatic life at Galapagos and Isla del Cocos. And the shark, they have a migration highway between Galapagos and Cocos.
Yeah.
We were filming sort of like where all the marine life come there to spawn, but also the cleaning stations where the sharks who eat the fish actually get cleaned by the same fish that they eat.
I'm like, I can feel my heartbeat, You cannot.
But we were filming this in 360, so 360 degrees. And we were filming underwater. We were working with.
You have to know how to swim.
What do you mean to swim? To dive?
It was a scuba dive, yeah. But we also use submarines.
Because I swim like this, not to wet my fan. My fan.
Yeah.
Oh, you fail. It's a fence style. This is not funny. This is. Yeah. So and you are diving. You can't not super.
She doesn't go to normal places. She never goes to normal places,
except
maybe the time that you worked with Queen.
Yeah, tell me something. Do you have
with the American Rhapsody?
Yeah, but when you were shooting this 360 VR and this the 3D, in what way you have to think almost differently about composition, about light and shadows, about camera movement, about depth of field, about all this.
So
even the mise-en-scène, using different.
So there is no. I can only talk about documentary right now. So let's example wildlife documentary because the rules are different in different scenarios, and that's a learning curve that we understood quickly. So we had been at the Great Barrier Reef and we filmed there. So we were working with, Ray Dalio. He owns Alusha, which is now Ocean X. So it's a big research yacht that's catered for film production. Right. Okay. So we have a yacht and we have all the amenities there to make a film. We have a macro lab. We have 2 submarines. We have 2 helicopters. We have 24 dive tenders. We have the main yacht and then we have the sister yacht, Umbra. So this isn't a small production. This is like you need this kind of ammo in order to create a documentary. So I'm just trying to explain the charades around making the documentary, right? And what was interesting was that when we spent about 6 weeks trying to figure out the language in 360, right? Is it cutting slow? Is it cutting fast? Do you follow a fish?
You mean the pace of the shot?
Yeah, the pace of the shot in 360.
And then the editing.
And how do you direct the viewer's attention? Do you use audio cues to make them turn their heads? Can you swivel the space around to manipulate the viewer so they're looking at what you want them to look at?
Yeah, but that's not fooling around with continuity.
No, so this is a documentary. So documentary underwater, yeah, and everything is one take, but you can actually cut as well if you narrate and you bring the viewer with you on the journey.
Okay, so
then you can
have
cut.
Jump cuts?
But exactly, so do you jump cut or do you find some way of creating more of a veil? I would say we leaned more towards theatrical elements, you know, the reveal of the curtain. So you can do that in 360, and I feel like that works really well. It's a
when you cut from your close up to your close up, so there is a jump, the picture jump.
So if we go from, so when we were underwater, and it was interesting because we sort of nailed the story of how we're going to develop the 360 format. And because we've been filming underwater at the Great Barrier Reef, you'd think you could just copy cut that format and put it in another movie at the Galapagos underwater and follow the same format. But we all of a sudden realized we couldn't. The whole thing fell apart. We had to discover a new language because the animals, the fish at the Great Barrier Reef were super busy. They were always like high tempo movement. Right?
We see it when we go in Israel. We have this Eilat. We have those wonderful reefs. When you go or Sharm el-Sheikh, which is part of Egypt, and you can see it there how they go like the
the frenzy of it. But then we came to the Galapagos and Isla del Cocos, and you know, Pura Vida, they were so chill. The fish.
The place. Okay, it's a place.
No, it's a saying that they have in Costa Rica. So it just means like chill out, you know, relax.
Oh, no, I want, you know, nobody ever told me to chill out, so I don't know this world.
But Jannicke, now you're alone. You don't have a team, right?
Correct, I'm alone.
Do you choose what to film, or is anybody that asks you to provide something specific? How does it work?
Sometimes I get commissions, yes, correct. So sometimes people ask me specifically to go out and film something. The only thing I can't deliver is say, hey, can you film a polar bear for me? That's not something I can provide because the regulations are very strict on how you approach polar bears, because you don't want them to get used to being amongst people. And the reason why is because the sea ice is disappearing. The polar bear is an aquatic animal, so it's a marine animal. It hunts seals primarily. But now that the sea ice is disappearing, the polar bears are showing more interest in the human
setting. They come to you, yeah.
Yes. And this is why we're so heavily armed when we go out the door. We have to have our flare gun with us, and we have.
Oh, you have a gun?
Right.
You're a cowboy. You go with a gun like a cowboy.
So yes, you have to have at minimum a flare gun so you can scare a polar bear and hopefully run away.
So you're not afraid? You're
not really,
afraid?
No. No. I mean, no.
What do you like more, animals or people?
Animals.
Can we be exception?
Yes.
Thank you.
How much longer are you going to stay there? When is daylight coming?
Daylight comes on the 7th of March. That's when we see the sunshine.
So what happened to your eyes when there is not sunlight?
I've never been asked that question before. I don't know. I find it quite peaceful. I don't think something happens to my eyes, but
no, but because you are most of the time indoors,
in darkness. No,
yeah, but we have the northern lights. You know, the northern lights are 24/7 in the darkness. So even though there's no sunshine, all of a sudden, it just hit me that these northern lights that we're seeing, and you know, they flare in lots of different colors, is actually our planet looking after us people.
Also,
like
there is
life
like,
on Earth.
sorry, I'm okay, I'm ignorant. So my husband say I only know stuff when I make a documentary, because I make a lot of documentaries, but about people. No, never get me out of a coffee place. I need to have a documentary where it takes you 10 minutes to get to
The coffee place.
the coffee place. But anyway, what do you mean, the lights from the stars?
The Northern
No.
Lights. The
The aurora. I
you
mean,
know that when you have green, purple, yellow,
yeah.
that's the Northern Lights. Yeah.
So, but it comes from
And
where?
it's now.
But
and
it
it's
comes
now.
from where?
This is the time for the Northern Light, right?
yes,
It
Right
comes
now.
from where?
from the sun. It's cosmic radiation hitting our
But also at
universe.
night?
Well,
there is no night.
It's night all the time, and people come from all over the world, especially at this time of year, to see it because it's amazing.
When are we going?
It's beautiful. I was
it's
there.
gorgeous.
Oh, really?
I was
She
there.
was
It's
everywhere.
But-
it's life.
No,
It's life changing.
But Jannicke, your neighbors, they were
Uh-huh.
born there and grew up there, or they all like you came along?
No, there are two rules. You're not allowed to give birth here, and you're not allowed to die here.
You're not allowed to give birth?
No.
Why?
Because there's no citizens of
Fertility?
Svalbard. There's only residency. There's no you
Which
can't.
country it belongs to?
It belongs to Norway, but we share it with Russia.
That's not a good place to share
But
things with.
Wait, what do you mean? Why you cannot have babies? Can you have sex?
Basically
yes, but
because
no
there is no
babies.
infrastructure. There is
Hospital,
a
because they're not.
hospital, but I wouldn't exactly define it as a hospital.
But what do you mean you're not allowed to die there? How can you control it?
So if you cannot look after yourself, you get sent back to where you came from, put it that way. So whatever country you came from, you have to go back.
Okay,
You-
you
you're
cannot
not-
if you get sick, you have
Yeah.
to go back home.
But
There is-
And
there
what
is
if
no
you have
help.
accident?
There is no help. You can't be a liability here. There is no financial help.
Okay.
And there is no medical help or minimum medical help.
So basically, when you live there now,
Mhm.
do you have any rights, or you just have to be lucky, careful and lucky?
I'd say you need to be careful and lucky. You need to make your money, but you don't have a right. There are no workers' rules or worker unions or anything like that.
So how people make a living there?
So there are various different industries, and also there's a university here.
Oh, okay.
But it's
A marine university?
So there is
Probably.
well, Arctic sciences.
Yeah.
So they study the Arctic and they study
You read
climate
one in
change, and they
Haifa.
also a lot of astrophysics here as well. Studying the northern lights, aurora borealis, and how you can observe the universe from the north of the globe. Also, coal mining is here. And then you've got the regular jobs. So other than scientists and coal mining, then you have regular jobs like shopkeepers and, hairdressers.
Services. Right.
Yeah.
Do
Regular
you have
services.
Tourists get there? Tourists.
Yeah. Heavy tourist industry.
Wow.
Lots of tourists come
What
here.
happens in the summer when it's daylight all the time? How does it affect the whole neighborhood?
So I can deal with the darkness better than I can deal with the 24-hour sunlight. And I'm used to growing up in Norway, but the sun goes down to the horizon and it's a weaker sun. Here, the sun just stays in the sky and circles above you.
Sure.
It drives you mental. It's very bizarre.
And the animals, do they behave the same when it's daylight?
Do you know what? So I was actually asking this question about the polar bears, about the
No, the
hibernation.
dogs. Don't we have dogs?
Hold on.
We have dogs as well, lots of dogs, husky,
Yeah.
lots of camps with huskies, like sleigh dogs.
Mm-hmm. So what do they do? Where do they hide for the summer, or do you
So
see them?
apparently they just nap.
Yeah.
And the humans tend to do the same thing because of the sunshine. So you only sleep for a few hours and then you're awake again, and then you have another siesta. And that's basically how I've and many other people have adapted to the 24-hour sunlight. I mean, you can block out the sun as well, but for me, it's just easier to have my curtains open and fall asleep when I'm tired and follow more of a natural human habit rather than a constructed society.
How does it affect the cycle of the body? How does it affect,
Pardon?
how does it affect the cycle of the body? Day, night, light, and darkness.
Well, because there is no darkness, it's just a permanent for months long. It's just one long day. So for me, it was easier to adapt by just sleeping maybe 4 or 5 hours and then be awake and do my regular work, because you can be out any hour of the day. I mean, it's sunshine. It doesn't, time doesn't matter anymore.
Wow.
So it's a much more, I'd say it's a much more what should I say, an authentic old something that you've inherited that wakes up.
Right.
Tell me
When-
something. There is
you know,
no
like
violence, right? There is
Pardon?
there is no violence, right? Like
No, we have one policeman.
burglaries and murderers and rapists.
Not as far as I know. I mean, there's one policeman on the island, and nobody locks their cars, nobody locks their
Oh,
doors,
really?
nobody locks
Who
their
wants to go there?
Like a kibbutz.
Who wants to go there? When was the last time you went into civilization?
What do you mean? This is civilization.
This is
mean,
the end of nowhere.
I mean, it's fairly often. But always on film projects, always on work was I not in civilization. So, you know, visiting remote islands in the Pacific, you know, where there are no people, or I've been to Far East Russia in Chukotka, which was incredible and is kind of like just like here.
No people?
This is my favorite place.
There
Pardon?
were no people there? There were no people in this?
No, there was mainly military and gold mining in Far East Russia. So you're closer to Alaska than.
Yeah. I just
than-
want to go back for a minute to Pina, the documentary. It was done by Wim Wenders, right?
Mhm.
Mhm.
And you know that for years he tried to do the documentary and he couldn't find the language. And he was trying and with her and trying and he just couldn't find the language. And then of course,
But
when he
it's
found
Pina's language.
when he found the language, she passed away.
Yeah.
So he, like, for example, he had very few interviews with her. Because because he didn't know how to, he looked for the style. It's very interesting. It's reminding me, Picasso tried to paint what's her name? Oh my God, a rose is a rose is a rose. Oh, come on.
I don't remember anything.
Really?
It just goes.
Anyway, a very famous painter. She had this place. She discovered Picasso and Cézanne and all of them. But anyway, he couldn't paint her. And only when he suddenly came to his mind and he went to African art and he could paint her. I will remember her name in a minute. She's so famous, it's unbelievable. What I'm trying, these are really two cases that I personally know, and this film he really tried for years to do this documentary and couldn't find the language. Therefore, I asked you that what you are talking about.
But Pina's language is very
I feel the same way. You're right. You're right.
Language. Yeah.
No, you're right. I feel the same way. I'm looking for some sort of film medium that can express this amazing nature where we live and get other people to see that nature, identify and appreciate it. And I keep trying different versions of technology to figure out how to capture nature. I haven't hit the nail on the head yet.
What do you mean look for technology? I mean, you are not actually coming up, you have to tell what you want, to have somebody else designing a camera. You know what I mean?
So depends. So for instance, when I did the Queen movie in 360 and we did 360 3D before anybody else, and actually I used regular cameras. I used 20 GoPros, and yes, together with a team, we built the camera rig and came up with the concept. And then we also built the wire system. They could transport the camera anywhere in the arena, so up above the drums, amongst the
build the
artists on
camera
stage.
But
straight
you two talk about different languages, because you're talking about the technology, the level of
Yeah.
technology, and how to use technology in order to translate to an idea that you want to express. And Tzipi is looking at the human point of view, and the effect, the emotional effect or the personal effect without technology, just as an idea.
So I'm
But I
looking
think
for.
it's also a generation attitude, and I think it's also a personality attitude. It's a very
I'm looking for a way to reach, exactly. I'm looking for a way to reach, particularly now, looking for a way to reach Gen Zs, to make them ignite with inspiration to be explorers and be photographers. And that's my next project, which I'm going on a month-long expedition in April, and I've called it Gaming for Climate. So I'm creating. So have you seen Borderless at the Mori Museum in Japan, or Imagining Van Gogh with the big scale immersive?
Yes.
That's what I want to create, but for the Arctic, and gamify it. Create it as an immersive video game that you walk into, so all the elements react to you.
They have it all over the world, by the way. I saw it in Paris. They have it in New York. They have it everywhere.
And everybody who has no interest in art or oil paintings,
sorry,
fell in love with it.
It's beautiful. It's very special.
It's so overwhelming. There's nothing else to do about it. You just have to love it.
What was the scariest thing that you filmed?
Probably people. I had a brush with the Holy Brotherhood in Egypt, who are now ISIS. I'd say that's the scariest experience.
Why?
Because we didn't have the same appreciation for humans, I guess, or fellow humans.
So you feel that it's more dangerous to do that than to be with polar bears?
Well, a polar bear, their motive is to eat food. And most of them won't see you as food. They want a seal, because they can look at you and go, I've never eaten human before. I'd rather have a seal, because a seal is full of flubber and fat.
Right.
Me too.
And oil.
What?
Depends who they meet and who they
they meet her. I think that they will not really look at her twice.
Especially when she covered with all these layers. But
yeah.
depends.
But with humans, I find, especially if you're in a hazardous environment, or you don't really know what the political field is, it's difficult to read humans and know exactly what the motives are.
You don't know what to expect, right?
Yeah,
correct.
You don't know who is who. Yeah. It's really difficult, right?
Yeah, and it's individuals. So even within that group, I found individuals who I could talk to and identify with. And that was sort of like a key to get out of that situation. So yeah, 100% people are the scariest thing.
So actually you shoot and produce, but do you edit yourself, or you take an editor?
I do. I edit myself as well.
Oh my God, really?
She's a one woman.
Yeah, but editing is so tedious. My God, I don't edit I take an editor.
I don't know. I love images. I get excited by them. And I get excited about, am I being, is the way I'm editing a movie subjective or objective? And I always try to be as objective as possible, but I'm always making choices. So no matter what choices I make, it's going to be a subjective movie. But I try to influence as little as possible through my editing.
So that's really, it's very interesting what you said. So you want to get away from being subjective when you edit, right? That's what you say?
I don't want to project my own liking of the subject or political orientation. I want to be as objective as possible. I don't want to influence the viewer in my filmmaking.
So you are the
I want the viewer to have amazing experience and that wow experience, but I don't want to tell them what to think.
But it's basically, it's the same. You deliver a message, because you deliver a message of you just give them the information and you ask them, think for yourself. So this is a message in a different way, just not negative message.
Well, I have to think about what you say, because I thought always when we do any film, we somehow navigate, you know, it's like a ship. And
So this is
start with an intent. Don't you want the audience to connect to your intent, why you did this film?
So this was an interesting discussion I had with so Brian May and Roger Taylor in Queen. So when we're doing the 360 filming there, you're not cutting traditionally. So you're filming the entire concert, but you have one camera with many different camera angles, right? So we had this discussion and we broke down the lyrics of like, "We Will Rock You" and Radio Gaga and "We Are the Champions." And I asked them, when you're on stage, when do you give the power to the audience and when do you take that energy and power back to the stage? What is this interaction between your audience, your music, and yourself? And also they are well versed in film language, so they understand the power of a close-up. But in order to achieve a close-up, you have a long lens from front of house, for instance. But now if you're shooting 360, you need to have the cameras close to the person as possible. So how comfortable are they with having a camera half a meter away from their face while they are performing? So this is why we spent 2 weeks rehearsing. We had an arena where we could rehearse and make them comfortable with the camera hovering between them. So because they wanted that power of a close-up, but the only way we could achieve a close-up in 360 is to be next to them.
Yeah,
you,
but so
you
how much?
cannot do it with polar bears.
No, you do not
You cannot
want to
come
be next to
close,
them.
and you cannot do 360 like this.
You want to be.
You cannot use a telephoto lens, really. Tell me something. So in general, how much control you have on the blocking? I know you, in documentary, we don't, you know, so you don't do feature. So, you know, I go from features to documentary.
But no. It's interesting because I actually give a talk about this exact subject because, you know, wildlife and rock stars are pretty similar. They don't stick to their marks.
Right.
So when you film wildlife, if the wildlife reserve allows you, you can put out chum, right? So you can get the animals to come to the camera. Other places you're going to have to search for the animals forever, and you will use local guides, underwater guides, and they will track the animals and lead you to the animals. Some places you can use chum and you can have the animals come to you. It's the same with rock stars.
Right.
So their monitor system is their chum. They will not stray far from the monitor. So if you're best friends with the audio crew, then they will set up the stage with the correct sound balance for the rock stars, but also favoring your camera positions.
Right.
So reverse psychology, I guess.
Right. Yeah. So also the VR, I don't know how you deal with blocking. You see, because when you shoot something like Pina, it's a dance, it's a choreography. So the movements are there. In a way, the blocking is there, and it's almost like scripted, right? It's actually scripted. So how do you shoot it? How much
Scripted
control you
content.
have?
Yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult. It's an experience. And I think this is where we're leading into the future of gamifying your film experience. So if you're going to tell, say, a horror film in 360 and you want the door to open at the pinnacle moment, when is a viewer ready for that door to open? And it's different for everybody you meet. Some people spend 12 seconds looking around a room and then they are mentally available or like to be scared by the door opening. So I think this is where we get into sort of AI movies maybe, or observing movies, trying to figure out when are you actually looking at the door and expecting something to happen subconsciously, because then the next step of the movie could proceed. Right?
Yeah, but you scare me because today I can talk with the DP. Well, documentaries, I go by myself. I have my own
Mhm.
equipment, but you know, it's like Panasonic. It's like, you know, it's not what you're talking about. It's a regular using of camera because I go by myself. I'm not a DP. You can see I'm not a DP. I just have an eye for composition. Also in documentary, it's important for me not to be jerky and stuff like this. But if I would like to make a film today, so I can talk to DP today and tell him, listen, I don't type of shots. I don't like this. I like this. Where to place me in a frame on the left
Mhm.
side, on the right side.
Mhm.
A camera movement. Do I write them? I like the movement to go from left to right or right to left. You know, this kind of.
Mhm.
So I know what to talk to him, and then I want this room to be like, you know, your room to be like more like it's now, like it's a warm color to project your personality. And then for Tzili, I want to have no, I don't. For me, I want to have a more colder, you know, colder colors, like more blue, you know, stuff like
Mhm.
that. How do I talk to a DP like you?
Hey, doggy. I heard a bark.
Yeah, we have a doggy here too. Is
So I personally don't think this is possible in 360, right? Scripted content is very difficult and it's more like a theatrical piece. But then we move on a bit. So now, because of Corona, we've got virtual production. And virtual production is building your scene in a game engine. So it's the same
in a what?
technology in a game engine. So we did this for
What
Stowaway.
is game? What is game?
What is game engine?
Like a software that you build a video game,
How do you call it?
a game engine.
Oh, okay.
So like Unity or Unreal are the two main game engines we would use.
Unity and no, this is like an experience that we never had.
I'm actually doing a master
program.
class on this at Cannes at the film festival on the 19th of May. So I'm going to do a master class there for 4 hours on this topic.
I may ask you to come and Zoom to my class.
I will.
They're just sophomore, or no, they're junior, you know, undergrad. But they're nice. Okay.
We shot. Have you watched Stowaway?
What did you say?
Stowaway. It's a sci-fi movie on Netflix starring Anna Kendrick.
I didn't see it, but now I have to see it. Stowaway?
Yes, Stowaway.
Okay.
Stowaway.
Stowaway. Okay.
Yeah. And she is part of a astronaut crew on her way to Mars. And this is where the film takes place in space. And obviously we couldn't be in space to film it. So we had to build space in a game engine. And how do you get Anna Kendrick to act in space? So we needed to bring her into the digital game engine as well, right? Yeah. And here, so this is why in this role, I'm called a virtual cinematographer or a VFX cinematographer. And I camera operate in a regular way. So I have, instead of having a physical camera, I have a virtual camera. It's basically the technology of a phone, right? And you frame your scene like a regular movie, like if you want this, do you want this? But you can also change the scene far easier because it's digital, it's made digital, right? So everything that surrounds a room, the spaceship, isn't physical. We will build part of it on a physical soundstage, but not the entire spaceship. And everything that we film outside of the spaceships for the EVA, so for the spacewalks, we call them EVAs, these are all virtual scenes. And I have the luxury of being a bit like doing like a Michael Bay, like I can shoot really big and I can like zoom past the action and I can have access to any type of camera, any kind of camera lens, and I can test out. I can put lights wherever I want, any size of lights.
More like in a toy store.
It's basically it is
exactly what it is. Toy store.
It's exactly what it is. It's a toy store, and then you go, okay, so I know what my budget is and I know what I want now because I've tested it. So I tell my producer what I want and I know it's within the budget because I've tested it. How many
people are like you? First question, how many people? Second question, how many women?
I haven't really met any women who do what I do.
Do you mean we are talking to a jewel, like a expensive diamond? Terrible. This is really.
There are a lot of
Diamond.
men, and I think it's sad that there's not more women. I speak a lot at film schools, and even in master degrees, there are 50 women, 50% women,
Yeah,
50% men.
NYU is now 50-50. NYU is 50.
But what happens when you get into the industry?
Well, I tell you,
I
it's very sad
don't
question.
know.
Listen, in my school, in the undergraduate, it's about 50-50.
Mhm.
And most female come with the desire to become film director.
Mhm.
They come out of school, very few want to be
But
film
maybe it's
director.
because they haven't seen what cinematographers can do.
No, I speak about even
Maybe it's
film
more
directing.
exposure.
In film
Pardon?
directing, I feel I speak about film
Mhm.
directing, being a director.
Mhm.
We have very few. We do have women now more in the cinematography. We have a very strong cinematography track, very strong.
Uh-huh.
I think it's probably the strongest. But you find now more women than before. But I speak about directing, being a director. They all want to be a director, but they finish school. Most of them don't want to be a director anymore. And there's many reasons. They look at the industry and there are only 4% the female
I mean,
directors.
I'm not gonna lie. Okay, so this is my story in London. So I come out of film school on a high. I work for David Attenborough, and then that production finishes, and I cannot find another job. And I'm living in London, and I'm so broke at this point. I am like, I can just see my bank account going down, 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 down. So I'm like, okay, so I need to apply to be a waitress or work in a cafe, be a barista or whatever. But I'm living in London and I can't get a single job as a waitress or a barista because I have no experience. In London, you need like a PhD in waitressing or baristing just to get the job. So I couldn't even get that kind of a job. So I was like, okay, so either I'm a cinematographer or I'm nothing. And for about, well, it was painful, 7-8 months, I was living on £1 a day. Like it wasn't even enough to buy
Not even
noodles.
McDonald's.
Not even enough for McDonald's. McDonald's was a luxury. So it's tough. Yeah, I think all film students have to go through that. Absolutely, to find.
I know it was very difficult, but the fact that you stuck to it, because if you will go to somewhere else, you may end up somewhere else. Not because you want, but because life takes over.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
And never be good at what you don't want to be. That's what I tell all my runners, all my assistants.
This is what I tell all my students. I mean,
don't be good at making coffee if you don't want to make coffee.
Right, you have to know. But I do tell them.
You shift the whole main idea and then you just fall from the wagon, you know.
Yeah, but I do tell them, though, you know, that, you have to pay your bills when you come out of school. Anything to, and just, you have to make, so I say,
you can cut those bills. You can cut bills.
Yes,
like,
no, but I take a class that you can make money. Like,
I think,
like a cinematographer, like an editor, like a sound editor, like a sound design. At least 1 or 2 classes that you can make a living. It's always better than to be a waiter because you're still in the industry, right?
Absolutely, and then all your time is spent waitressing and
right. But
doing shifts.
You just stuck to your dreams for 7-8 months on £1 a day. You are a woman.
Oh, it was miserable. It was miserable. I was living on broccoli and potatoes. It was horrible. I couldn't even afford meat. I was like that then. But it wasn't of my own free will.
Yeah, we need a little bit like this.
But I think that's why I'm able to live here. I have what I need, but nothing more.
You're very
There's no luxury here.
What's on your wall?
It's a reindeer antler I found outside.
What's behind you? Are real animals or stuffed animals?
Yeah, these are my gloves. So forgive me, I'm wearing my pajama trousers.
This is your pajama? That's look like, what is his name? Armani. Yeah, Armani. Oh, this.
All right, we're going to do a show and tell.
Wow, look at this.
So this is for really cold days. So
Can you do
this is the
anything?
only thing that keeps you warm.
Oh,
These are real animals, all of them.
wow. This
But
is
trust,
good.
there's nothing that keeps you warm. Nothing,
Warm enough.
synthetic stuff will not keep you warm. You have to
Wow.
dress like the animals, unfortunately.
Yeah.
These are, I've had frostbite. I got really
I
bad
had
frostbite
frostbite
last
in
year.
Michigan, and the camera, of course, was all the times slow.
You had to wear
slow
these.
motion. Wow, look at this.
Wait, let me give you a
Cannot even
laugh.
pick
Let me give you a laugh. Okay. So this is my heavy duty gear. So there we go.
Wow.
This is a little bit like a polar bear.
Wow. So can you touch? Can you grab
Nothing.
grab
This is-
a not how you call it, cucumber?
So this is,
No, but you can
I
be a
only wear,
puppeteer. You can be
I
a
only
puppeteer.
wear
You can
these.
draw on the inside of the glove and be a puppeteer.
Wow. Wow. So this
Yeah, I
is
put
what-
eyes on it.
this is what he has on a wall, right?
Yeah.
Listen, I why? Unbelievable.
Listen, I think
All
that
right, so
real
this is the
different-
only thing that can keep me warm and stop me from getting frostbite.
I think it's really chemical, you know, the differences between people. We have different combination in the body, and you have a very, very unusual combination of yours because you're very, very gutsy and very special because you
Unbelievable.
can live in a very different environment and do different things that
Yes.
most people can.
Yeah, but Tzili,
It's
what
really
I can
amazing.
do, what I will do. I mean,
What do you-
I'm completely not relevant.
Oh, this
Oh
is
my
for another
God.
show. This is for another show. We won't
What,
talk about
what
it here.
I am
I don't know. You're gonna screen this thing. I can show you my rifle, but if it's on YouTube, I don't want to show you my rifle.
But no, just you'll show us, but in a different way, and then we'll put it in.
All right.
Okay.
the only thing is
No.
what can oh wow.
So you need heavy duty stuff. This is what I have to wear every day.
It's
Okay.
starting to look like a mafia movie.
Yeah.
Thing
Yeah.
with all
It's
that
like a backpack strap, so I can wear it every single day on my
Wow.
back. So
Wow.
this
But
is what
do
you
feel
need because
protected. If you do, you know, at least you know that the danger are not people.
the more you learn about shooting and defending yourself in the wild, the less trigger happy you are. You do
Right.
not want to inflict damage on an animal.
Right.
You do not ever want to kill a polar bear. You're not here for hunting. If
Right.
someone kills a polar bear, everybody is, it's a sorrow, you know?
Yeah.
I think you'd have to move from the island because you would be seen as a killer.
Yeah, sure. There
If you
was
killed it,
one.
even if you killed a polar bear in self-defense, but you should never put yourself in that situation unless the polar bear jumped out from
You're
somewhere you
basically
didn't realize.
the visitors of their neighborhood and not the opposite. And you have a lot
You're
of respect.
exactly, you're in the polar bear's kingdom. Exactly.
Right.
Listen,
Respect.
look at the watch.
Yeah.
I have to
Yeah.
go because I have a deadline. Listen, I'm speechless. Can you tell me something that I will not
Mhm.
feel not relevant because I'm doing, you know, a mainstream drama. I go myself documentaries. I'm not what do you call it, 360. I'm not a VR. What to do? I don't know. Does it mean that I'm not?
Enjoy. And no, you teach what you know, and she'll
No, I
bring the new
think
stuff.
no, I don't have to teach. I would call her to teach this
Mhm.
stuff, but I cannot do what I cannot.
But we need it all. We need it
These
all.
are different formats,
Right.
and I love exploring the newer
I
formats.
admire
You will
you.
never replace a cinema film. They're never going to replace traditional film because it's the film language that works. But I do believe that if you have immersive media, it connects in a different way, and it connects with different generations.
And also,
My
it's
mission
very
is to
important
reach.
to address everybody. And you have so many kinds of taste and ideas and wishes, and there's room for everybody.
I
It's
admire
okay.
you. What can I tell you? I do admire also Pina Bausch. I also admire Gertrude Stein, the one that Picasso couldn't paint. She was really very ugly. But I do, yeah, and you are now So if I'm really a
So you're on the
groupie,
4th place.
I always say that I'm groupie of Pina Bausch, Gertrude Stein, Marian Faithfull, and now you.
You're in a good company.
So I'm
Jannicke.
now,
I mean,
I will say, I'm now taking you into my world.
Right.
And I'm going to be your guru.
oh my goodness, I'm
It's
gonna
amazing.
cry.
It's amazing. No, that's fantastic. And your love for animals. And you know how much you care for climate change. And you know, I just hope you spread the, you know.
That's the
That's
next
all
thing I
the
want to
time.
do. Like, I want to do the immersive Van Gogh, but I want to do it from the Arctic. Maybe you're even participating on like skis on a. I don't know. I wanted to
Did
be
you say the
immersive.
word
That's all I
ski?
want.
Did you say ski? I went with my son. We went and I wanted to. He took ski classes when he was 5, and I said, "Oh, I have to take 2 so I can know the language." And they threw me after one. It was like 5 sessions. Threw me after the first one because they were laughing. They couldn't concentrate. I was such a comedy. Did you say skiing? Oh, you can ski, right?
Yeah, cross country ski. You ski everywhere here. You either go by snowmobile or you go by cross country skiing.
Of course, country.
I think we'll watch you from far.
Yeah, yeah. Tzili, I want to thank you for introducing her to me. I will never forget it.
I always introduce you to great people.
I know, great.
Jannicke, thank you so much.
And with Jannicke,
With
Jannicke, you know, just Tzipi and Tzili, you know, Jannicke. It's so musical. Very nice to meet you. Thank you for coming. Thank
Bye,
everybody
Ruby.
who came. What an experience.
And see you next week.
See you next week.
See you
Love
next
you.
week.
Bye.
Lila Tov from Norway.
Oh,
Lila
Lila. So, it's Lila. Ah, wow.